place in the West with the Lions.
A Toronto win keeps the Argos in sole possession of second spot in the East. So there's a lot on the line in the final game of Week 8 in Canadian football.
Edmonton head coach Tom Higgins was at the top of the heap at the end of last year. Grey Cup champion and coach of the year. Got off to a slow start, but he's seen his team rebound with 3 straight wins, and his offense has scored 117 points in the process.
Toronto's Mike Clemens has the Argos winning at home, and on the road, the next step, catch the Alouettes. The Argonauts have lost 2 straight Eastern finals in Montreal. This is a great matchup here at Skydome this afternoon.
Well, and Edmonton head coach Tom Higgins has a good record against the Toronto Argonauts.
In fact, it's perfect.
Higgins 6-0 since 2001. Of course, last year's game here in Toronto, we had the blackout across southern Ontario, so it took a few days to get the game done. But
yeah, we remember that. That was an interesting time, wasn't it?
And Edmonton won that one.
The Eskimos got to town, and the game was postponed, and it took 3 days for the Eskimos and the Argonauts to finally get back and on the turf at each other here at Skydome.
Power outage in that one won't happen, I don't think, tonight as far as these 2 offenses are concerned. Lots of firepower on the field.
Eskimos are set to kick it off to the Argonauts to get this one underway. And you'll see 2 great kick returners in this one. Bashar Livingston for the Toronto Argonauts, number 23. And an interesting matchup as he goes head-to-head with Winston October, who currently leads the league in return yards. So we'll watch 2 outstanding athletes on special teams in this one tonight.
Of course, Bashar Livingston needs 1 kick return touchdown to pass Mike Clemens, the Argos history book.
Currently with 8 return touchdowns each.
Pinball has 8. His all on punt returns. Bashar has mixed his up. Some missed field goals.
Underway at Skydome. This is Chris Cunningham for the Argonauts out across the 35 and stopped at the 36. A 14-yard return for number 14. The Argos are coming off a bye week. Damon Allen threw for almost 400 yards in his last outing. Running back John Avery meets his old Edmonton teammates for the first time. Avery is overdue. Just 15 yards on 7 carries last game. Up front, Jude St. John is one of the few constants on an offensive line that has struggled at times because of injury in 2004. Damon Allen and the Argos. First offensive play. Miles has it and turns it into a huge gain. Still going. Tony Miles gets inside the 35-yard line.
Edmonton Eskimos up front, the front 7 with 14 sacks on the year, 3 from Raheem Abdul. They seem to be getting better every game this season. And in that secondary, to see one change. Crutchfield, Daryl Crutchfield, back in the lineup, was injured early in the season. He gets back in the lineup tonight on that corner.
And for Miles and the Argonauts, a 42-yard gain. Nice fake by Allen, and it's tipped as he tried to find his intended receiver at the 30-yard line.
Edmonton Eskimos don't play a lot of man-to-man, but they catch. Damon Allen catches him in the one time they are, and that's where Harold Nash, who's playing safety for the first time this year for the Edmonton Eskimos, is forced to come up and cover the 3rd receiver out, which is Tony Miles. Miles breaks on that out pattern, makes a move, makes Nash miss, and picks up good yards to get this game going for the Argos.
It'll be 2nd and 10, Toronto. At the Eskimo 32, shotgun for Allen. He's got time, and he missed the target. Looking for Cunningham, number 14, Chris Cunningham, who returned the opening kick, and the Argos come up shy in spite of the fact that they had that huge 42-yard reception by Tony Miles.
That's something we haven't seen in the last 3 weeks from Damon Allen, is an errant pass. He has been dynamite. Allen over the last 3 games, completing 69.1% of his passes in the 3 wins for the Argos. We haven't seen many missed like that from number 9.
Here's Noel Prefontaine in for his first attempt of the evening. 9 of 15. And he's got that, and the Argos have the lead. Scoring on the opening drive.
A positive start from Mike Clements to get the big play from Tony Miles to set up points. You always want to start in a positive way and get some momentum early on in the game, and whether it be 3 or the major, they'll count. Especially against a hot Edmonton Eskimo team coming off a huge win versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You know, a 17-day layoff is tough to come back from, and Damon Allen was a little behind on that throw over the middle to a wide open Chris Cunningham. But they've had a nice break. They should be well rested. Now they just have to scrape a little of that rust off.
And no rust on this guy at all.
Oh, boy.
A CFL record, 22 consecutive completions in his last outing.
27 of 30, folks. 90%. Completed 90% of his passes, did Jason Maas. 22 straight. Jock Climby said in the pregame. But it is tough to complete 10 in a row against air. Jason Maas completed 22 straight versus the Bombers. That's a record that'll take a long time to beat.
Lots of talk about that during the week, where teams have gone out into practice for a key game and tried to complete 10 in a row in scrimmage. Winston October matching up against Bashir Livingston. A 22-yard return there. Edmonton's Jason Maas, fresh from that record-setting outing. The Eskimos have won 3 straight. It's homecoming for Daryl Mitchell. The ex-Argo plays his old team for the first time. Mitchell is 3 for 3 for 3. 3 catches his last 3 games. All 3 have gone for touchdowns. And up front, Chris Morris leads an offensive line that leads the league in protecting the quarterback. The Eskimos have given up just 5 sacks in the last 6 games. Starting lineups brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. Eskimos begin inside the 25. And on the ground, Mike Pringle.
Argonauts on defense. Jonathan Brown back in the lineup, has 2 sacks on the season. Noel Cantor off to a good start as well. And in the secondary, boy, this is a ball hawking bunch. It'll be a different story for Jason Maas as they go against this secondary. 11 interceptions, and Kenny Wheaton back in the lineup. He's not the veteran back there. He's only 2 years with the Argos, but already has 3 picks for that team this season.
Pringle picks up 4, 2nd and 6, Edmonton. Maas has time and a target out the far side. That'll be first down yardage on the reception by Brock Ralph.
Well, expect a very different game from Jason Maas here tonight than we saw versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Against the Bombers, he faced 2 basic coverages, man-to-man, or what's called a 3 deep zone defense. And you won't see that a bunch against the secondary, the Toronto Argonauts. They mix things up. They play combination coverages. They play what's called match defense. So Jason Maas will have to be a lot more patient against Adrian Smith and this Argo secondary.
Well, these guys have shut down teams this season, no question about that. Mike Pringle still looks fit as can be. Not talking about his future past this season, but you sort of got the feeling when we chatted with him briefly before the game that as long as he's having fun, he's going to stay out there.
Well, that's what he told us, and he said that as long as he's having fun meaning I'm producing for the football team, and that's the most important thing to Mike Pringle, who wanted us to say happy birthday today to his wife Kenya, because she's the one who decides how long he's going to play or not.
So let him play next year, Kenya.
Yeah.
But happy birthday. There's Daryl Mitchell with his first catch against his old team.
Well, and when you look at Mike Pringle and where he is now, under 500 yards away from George Reed's record. Mike Pringle chips away now 473. There he is all time against some pretty good running backs in all of football. Emmitt Smith, of course, the all-time leader, Walter Payton. And there's George Reed and Barry Sanders, who is announced into the Hall of Fame. So it's quite an elite group when you look at the running backs, and Mike Pringle on his current pace depending on if it's the pace of the last 3 games or the pace overall this season, you can break that record in either 4 or 5 weeks or 9 weeks. When you look at his first 3 games for Pringle, well, 23 yards per game, but that's increased a ton. Yeah, and that's increased a ton over the last 3 games. So
this will be 3rd down and inches, and the Eskimos take advantage of that opportunity.
So depending if we see the first 3 weeks Mike Pringle or the last 3 weeks, and I would say it's probably somewhere in between, around 60 or 70 yards per game, Mike Pringle will pass George Reed somewhere around Labor Day or maybe just after in the Labor Day rematch.
Against the Stampeders at Commonwealth in front of 60,000.
Yeah. Danny Machocha wants to involve him more, especially against this Argo defense that has given up some yards along the ground.
On 1st down, Moss into the Argonaut bench.
And this is what the difference can be in winning and losing. Running the football in the first 3 games, all losses for the Edmonton Eskimos. They were at 40 yards a game. Now they were coming from behind a bunch, so that kind of took the running game out of Danny Machocha's hands. But you see, when they get balanced and get 100 yards rushing per game like they did in the last 3, the results are very different.
Eskimos look at 2nd and 10. Moss has a target, and he'll get a 1st down. Yards to spare for Brock Ralph on his 2nd catch. Lost the ball. And the Eskimos retain possession with a 1st down here to continue this drive.
Well, Brock Ralph may not get a whole lot of headlines because of names like Mitchell, Vaughn, Tucker, and Hervey. But 23 catches for 328 yards, and now it's 24 catches on the season with that one. The Eskimos will hang on to the football. No Argo touched it. He is really making a name for himself in a hurry.
Now at the Argonaut 46. Pringle again for a couple this time. Argo's using a 3-4 defense on the season, and it seems to be working rather effectively. Noah Cantor is in the middle there with Jonathan Brown and Eric England up front, and we talked about the linebackers.
Yeah, well, that's where the key is in a 34 defense. Basically what that is 3 down linemen. Those are the big guys you're looking at now. Eric England. Now they have to occupy the offensive line's back blocks so that the athletic linebackers can fly around, and Bonner and Fletcher lead the way in that group.
2nd down, open target. This is Tucker. Stopped at the 5. Eskimos pick it up at the 10. Terry Vaughn trailing on the play.
John, here's
recovers after the hit.
Little coaching point for the young football fans watching this game tonight. Even if you're not the intended target, Tucker becomes the intended target. Keep hustling on the play. Look at the backside, Terry Vaughn. His pattern is not the primary target. Tucker is. He catches the ball, but Vaughn keeps hustling. He's right there watching his teammates, sees the ball pop out, and he's there to pick it up for the Edmonton Eskimos. See, on the backside, you got to keep your eyes on the football, never quit until the whistle blows, and that saved the fumble, the Edmonton Eskimos.
Edmonton inside the 10 with a 1st and goal to go from there. It's Pringle down to about the 5.
Boy. You know, Jason Tucker's the primary guy, but see the backside of the play. Everybody's got to work hard in their patterns. There goes Terry Vaughn down the seam, one-on-one on Bonner. Now he realizes he's got double coverage. He's not going to get the football. He keeps his eyes on the play and keeps coming across, and he saves possession of the ball for the X and a chance to score.
Second and goal. Eskimos at the Argonaut 5. Moss to the end zone. He's got Hervey. Or rather, Daryl Mitchell, I should say, 87. So Mitchell is 4 for 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games, and this one is a little sweet.
John, it starts with a big block from his running back, and Mike Pringle. Watch him step up and take Mike Fletcher on the blitz. That allows Moss to have some time and good sight lines to throw it up over the top. You think Daryl Mitchell's happy with that catch? I guess so, against his former teammates.
One of the stories behind the setup to this one, Daryl Mitchell, 90 yards away from becoming the Argonauts' all-time leading receiver. Cut adrift from the Argonauts, and he's an Eskimo now. Talking about touchdowns, he's got 4 in 4 games. Well, Jason Moss has picked up exactly where he left off. 5 of 6 for 70 yards in the touchdown toss as the Eskimos take the lead. This is Livingston. Bashir Livingston out to the 45, and we'll see how the Argonauts respond to this as Mitchell found himself all alone at the back of the end zone for a touchdown against his old mates.
Yeah, and without that block from Pringle, this play never happens, but Daryl Mitchell going one-on-one on Kenny Wheaton, gets in behind him on the corner. As a defensive back, when you get down and get your own goal line, you have to take the inside away, and Mitchell took advantage of that going to the outside.
Argonauts scored on the opening possession. The Eskimos bettered that with a touchdown instead of the field goal that the Argonauts were forced to settle for. John Avery for 5. Yeah, game for Avery in a lot of ways as he goes up against Daryl Mitchell. Part of the money that Avery is receiving from the Argonauts came from the old paycheck of Daryl Mitchell when you look at it.
Daryl Mitchell was asked to take a bit of a cut. Had an injury-plagued season last year to help out with the payroll in the John Avery department, and Daryl Mitchell decided he didn't like that idea.
Ended up in Edmonton. This is 2nd and 6, Toronto. Looked like it was tipped at the line, and Avery couldn't hang on.
Yeah, he took a peek. Took a peek. You know, I once stood over a golf ball and took a hard swing at it as Avery comes out and basically missed the ball, went off the heel into the bushes to the left, and guys I were playing with said, hey, you think you're pretty good if you don't look at the ball when you swing, because I popped my head up. And that's exactly what John Avery just did. You know, you have to watch the ball in your hands, and he took a peek down the field and lost contact.
Yeah, I think I remember that day. You took a 7 on the hole, didn't you? Winston October back inside the 15.
That's what I took. I don't know that's what I got.
Prefontaine. October spins for about 8 on the return, shy of the 30-yard line. The Eskimos on top. It's 7-3. It's Wendy's CFL Live from Toronto. There the Eskimos on first down at the 45. Pringle tripped in the backfield and fell forward for very little gain.
John, I mentioned earlier that it's going to be a different type of game for Jason Moss, and Mike Pringle will be more involved. The short passing game and intermediate passing game more involved for Jason Moss, just because of the style of defense that the Argos play. Moss will have to be more patient this week than he was last week versus the Bombers, and take the underneath pattern a lot more than he did against the Bombers when he was all over top.
Well, this Argonaut defense leads the league in several categories. There's Moss using the outside route there on the far side for Ed Hervey.
You know, that's a good example, and I had a conversation with Ed Hervey before the game, and he said it's more of a patient game this time because the Argos will not give up the deep play. We love going deep, but we may see more Terry Vaughn, who's a specialist underneath at catching that short 5-yard throw and then turning it into a first down with his legs. And that's going to be the type of game that Edmonton will have to try and stay patient with today, or tonight, or, well, it's both. It's today in the West and tonight here.
Pringle is just getting warmed up.
And the reason that they're going to have to be patient offensively is because of this style. The Toronto Argonauts first or second in 9 of the 10 defensive pass categories. They're first in 6, second in 3, and third in the last one. So 9 out of 10, they're right at the top of the list. Rich Stubler has this secondary working like a well-oiled machine, and they're playmakers back there. Michael Fletcher and Tonius Bonner. Look at their secondary with Steinauer and Adrian Smith and Clifford Ivory. Guys that make plays on the football when it arrives.
Mike Pringle, 6th carry, 24 yards so far this evening.
Those are a couple of the big ones right there. Average points allowed, 13. That's number 1 passing yards per game. Under 300, and that's, I mean, there, 200 yards passing per game in the CFL is phenomenal defensively.
Second in inches against this Argonaut defense for the Eskimos. And there's no doubt about that. No flags anywhere, so the Eskimos will continue to hang on to the football. Interesting, we talk about matchups a lot of the time, receivers against defensive backs. One of the ones we're talking about prior to this game is Stubler against Machocha. When you've got two guys who are that solid behind their teams on offense and defense, these guys are going to have fun with each other tonight.
Well, it's the chess game, yeah, and it's you have to try and be 1 or 2 plays ahead of your opponent when it comes to play calling. What do the tendencies say? What's the next call?
It is an Eskimo first down outside the Argonaut 40. Moss goes to the far side, and they won't get anything out of that play.
But you see, for Rich Stubler there, he can draw them up, and he can draw them up and have the right call made, and then he still needs the guys on the field to execute like they just did. See, Danny Machocha went with a hitch pass on first down, trying to get them in second and medium. But Rich Stubler's boys rallied, got 3 tacklers over there, and now the Edmonton Eskimos are looking at second and long. So the chess match in this particular set of downs, Rich Stubler is up 1-0.
Jason Tucker losing a yard. So the Eskimos look at 2nd and 11 on what should be the last play of the opening quarter. Jason Moss running for his life, and he won't get away. Not even back to the original line of scrimmage as he's dropped at the 45. And it was Kenny Wheaton coming up to make the tackle on Moss there. So already you can see Moss feeling a lot more pressure in this one tonight than last week.
One catch, that to Tony Miles in the first play.
Allen has all kinds of time, and then had to move out of the pocket, fired a low percentage pass to Robert Baker, and it was well off the mark and out of bounds.
You notice what Jock was talking about, and that's Damon Allen and his time and timing in the pocket. Does he drop back and in 1.5 to 2.5 seconds get rid of that football on time to his receivers? He hasn't been able to do that. Give some credit to the secondary of the Edmonton Eskimos, who seem to be disrupting the receivers as they come off the line right now.
Second and 10. Pete was on. Allen releases. It's Miles. Tony Miles. And the Eskimos move up and stop him short of a first down. Looked like he had running room out there, but the Eskimos closed quickly.
Well, they closed, and they did it correctly. Daryl Crutchfield from the outside. He closed outside in, and then he allowed his friends to come from the inside. See, the corner is the last guy. You're going to see it. This is a swing pass in that direction to Tony Miles. Now, the corner is the outside guy. If he gets beat to the outside, Crutchfield right there, then Miles has the first down and maybe more. Crutchfield holds his ground and allows his friends to come and help.
Back in the Eskimo lineup for the first time since week 1. Daryl Crutchfield forcing the Argonauts into a third down situation. And Prefontaine stands at his 15. Winston October. 5 on the return, but a penalty flag comes down. Moss and the Eskimos first and 10 when we come back. Tony Miles has his 5th touchdown catch of the season. 4 in the last 4 games for Miles, who is breaking out after a sluggish start in some ways.
Well, in the beginning of the season, the Argos lost 2 of 3. and are on a 3-game winning streak. A lot of the reason for that is the play of Tony Miles.
Eskimos look to respond. The return by Winston October out about the 33.
John, another coaching point for the young players out there watching this game. Tony Miles does a nice job here. He waggles up to the line, making it look like it's just a blocking play for him, then cuts underneath. Now coverage will be Singor Mobley. Watch where Mobley's looking. Mobley's eyes are back to the quarterback, not on Tony Miles, and Miles is allowed to then outflank Singor Mobley to the outside, get that corner, and get in the end zone. The great generals will tell you, if you can outflank the enemy, you have a better chance of victory.
That's on Napoleon won, right? Or lost. Mike Pringle across the 40 to the 41. Antonio Bonner making the tackle on Pringle, who's just getting warmed up.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, Mike Pringle, in his last 3 games, we mentioned it earlier, has been close to 100 yards a game, and now that's a lot of credit to go to his offensive line, who've played tremendous all season.
Half necessary.
Well, guys, the news from the Argo sideline here is one of their mainstays on defense, Adrian Smith, is not in the lineup right now. Chuck Winters, the benefactor, of course, he got that fumble the last time the Eskies had the ball. But Smith seems to be favoring his left ankle. He's had it taped up, looked after. Again, he's trying to walk on it, but right now it's not looking good. He's just trying to shake it off, guys.
All right, here are the Eskimos at first down and 10, and it's Pringle again, more than halfway to a first down again. Looks like almost 8 yards for Pringle on that carry. We talked about the Argonauts and how great this defense can be, but where it is vulnerable is on the ground against the run, and the Eskimos obviously looking to use Pringle a little earlier in the game than they often do.
Well, substitutions, and the substitution will have to be made a little bit from Rich Stubler now. He'll go with some bigger guys up front, and one way to help against the run, if Mike Pringle is allowed to continue to churn up the yardage, is to bring a defensive back into the box to help out on the tackling, but that leaves you vulnerable to the pass in behind.
They call it a 7-yard gain. Nothing this time for Mike Pringle as he ran right into Jonathan Brown
or there's
and
that.
Eric England.
Or there's that. There's you know, a couple of ways to stop the run. You can do it by scheming it up and putting guys in the box and getting some tackling help, or you can just have Jonathan Brown beat his man and get penetration and get in the backfield. Jonathan Brown right in here at the top, and he's just going to go through the line, get penetration, and Mike Pringle, before he gets the ball, faces number 97.
So the Eskimos quickly into a punting situation. Fleming standing at his 33. Bashar Livingston back at his 15.
Whoa!
This one sails over Fleming's head, and he'll be lucky just to punt it out of the end zone. Heads up play by Fleming on a high snap.
Well, good play by Fleming just to pick it up.
Get that one out of here. Raheem Abdullah, one of the leading sackers in the CFL, and for every sack in this one, Purolator contributes the quarterback's weight in food to the local food bank. Purolator, Canada's biggest courier company. Saskatchewan sackers lead the way. The Alouettes are right behind.
Edmonton chipping away, though. They've become stronger in that defensive line in the last 3 games. One of the reasons they've won all 3. Got healthy up front. Raheem Abdullah, big reason, and they got Kelvin Kenny back healthy, and we've seen him in the backfield already tonight as well.
I think I see the light here at Sky Dome. It was raining heavily prior to the game, and the lid was closed. But it's slowly opening now, so we'll see the second half in bright sunshine, we hope. Shara Livingston for the Argonauts after they pick up 2 points on the safety punted through the end zone by Sean Fleming. Toronto scoring on back-to-back plays, or at least last possession was the touchdown toss to Tony Miles.
Cut underneath behind the line of scrimmage. That's why it was tough for Signor Mobley to get lined up and to stay wider than Tony Miles. That's why he got in the end zone. 7 plays, 102 yards. Very good drive for Damon Allen.
And the Argonauts with 9 points in a row, looking to add to that total as Damon Allen warms up with another strike. Mark Lester drawing into the lineup this week because of an injury to Mike Palmer.
Well, and one of the reasons, too, that Mark Lester can get back in the lineup. Mark Lester's an import, but Sandy Annunziata on the offensive line has become healthy and is now a starter again. And bring in Canadian backup offensive lineman. That changes the ratio, allows Mark Lester to get back in the lineup at slot back.
Lester with 4 catches for 92 yards coming into this one. That catch for a first down, Toronto. John Avery out of the backfield. And he's got a little better than 5 yards. Shannon Garrett up to make the tackle on Avery.
Their former Edmonton Eskimo and John Avery, 2002, 1448. And John Avery missed the first few games of the season that year.
Wonderful average, leading the Eskimos into the Grey Cup.
In fact, I believe it was 5 games he missed. Can you imagine if he had all 5 to those totals?
Tried out in the National Football League, came back to the Argos this year. Cunningham was the closest Argonaut receiver, and there appeared to be a little miscommunication down there between quarterback and target.
No, but once again, though, Damon Allen, John, doesn't have to force things. I mean, this is the nice thing, the luxury that he has, because the Argos play so well defensively, and they have Rashard Livingston on the special teams, which is instant field position for them in most occasions. So Damon Allen can protect the football. That time, the pattern was disrupted from Chris Cunningham for the DBs, and Damon Allen could just stick with it, throw it wide, and put Noel Prefontaine on the field.
Prefontaine made his first from 39. And he's 2 for 2. Noel Prefontaine adds to the Argonaut lead. And the last 3 scores belong to Toronto. The touchdown by Miles, the safety, and the field goal from Prefontaine.
Yeah, chip away, chip away. You can do that when you have a good offense because a good defense, because it takes the pressure off your offense. This Argonaut defense went 15 quarters without giving up a touchdown, and then versus Ottawa gave up 2. So basically in 16 quarters of football, they've given up 2 touchdowns.
And the one here into the 17th quarter.
Yeah, and then you get into 17. Now you start here. That was coming in. So when you have a defense that's been that strong, offensively you can be more patient because you're always in the football game.
Little doubt that the Argonauts have a winning record, 4-2, because of the play of the defense. Jason Moss looking to respond under the cover, and he'll get a first down. Gilles Lezé. And that'll be a first down for the Eskimos. 3-minute warning. 3 minutes till the half. Jason Moss on the sidelines had his helmet on until seconds ago. There's his numbers on the afternoon. 12 of 15, 171. Injured on the previous play, came off in some pain. Hard to tell what his decision might be on the next Eskimo offensive sequence.
He looks okay. He's walking up and down that sideline. You know, you're coming off a game against Winnipeg where you complete 90% of his passes. And he's just looking and making sure he has full grip right now. But it'd be tough to coach a guy up who completed 90% of his passes. I mean, what do you say? What happened on those other couple?
Well, he was a little upset, according to Tom Higgins, after the game because of the fumbles that he had that really didn't cost the Eskimos anything. But there were fumbles No interceptions, but there were a couple of fumbles on the Moss record last week.
Yeah, they're the numbers. And what do you say? Like, you know, what happened on those 3? I mean,
well,
this
you blame a receiver for one.
Well, actually, you know what happened? He had 22 in a row going, and on the 23rd throw, he had a wide open Jason Tucker, and he slipped on the turf. And the ball went down into the turf. But had he not slipped on his plant foot, it would have been 23. Tucker was wide open. It was an 8-yard pass, easy for Moss. And he went and slipped and fell, and the ball went into the ground. So would have had 23 consecutive some kind of game. And he's at 80% right now in this one.
Penalty on the return goes against the Argonauts. Objectionable conduct, so Allen starts deep. Miles, his favorite target, makes another catch. Tony Miles.
You Edmonton Eskimos right now, you probably think defensively we got to do a little bit more against Tony Miles. Maybe throw some double coverage on him or vice coverage, depending on how you want to call it. But Tony Miles has really been the one threat the Argos have gone to over and over again.
John Avery running with a little more authority. We talked about the rest that the Argonauts have had and how John Avery needed that rest. And you were also talking about the fact that he likely shouldn't have played at all in those first 3 games, according to Ken Austin.
Yeah, but they couldn't keep him out. I mean, he demanded to play. He said that he would gut it out. Ken Austin said to me, you know, he played all but 1 play in the first game and probably shouldn't have been on the field.
On first down, Allen has his target, but it's Robert Baker, and that'll be another Argonaut first down with 1:18 to go till halftime.
I'm sure Ken Austin will involve Avery a whole bunch more in the second half underneath and take advantage of the fact that he's a lot healthier now than he was at the beginning of the season. Keep going to Tony Miles, but they're going to have to start spreading it around because Ken Austin knows one thing. On that other side, Greg Marshall, he's keeping stats too, and he knows how many catches Tony Miles has made in this game.
How about Robert Baker, who flanks to the near side this time on an Argonaut first down?
There you go. Oh.
Well, he went to him.
Yeah, I was going to say.
A little behind his target.
I thought you might have had a microphone in the huddle there. Going to Robert Baker, went right to him. A little bit behind, but a catch that Baker should have come up with. Yeah, and this is Greg Marshall now. He's saying, okay, Tony Miles has hurt us. A couple of under patterns, and he's also gone down the field. We can do some things to try and take away Tony Miles. A little double coverage maybe with Singor Mobley or Robert Grant out of the linebacking core. And then Ken Austin, on the other hand, wants to try and spread it around and maybe get Robert Baker open more.
2nd and 10. And Avery couldn't hang on, sliding out of the backfield.
Well, see, now
like there was room there too, didn't it?
Well, now, John, though, the Argo receivers can say the sun's in their eyes. See, early in the game,
no excuses.
They couldn't have said that the sun was in their eyes, and they opened up the top, and now that becomes an issue.
If you've been in Southern Ontario this summer, you haven't been able to say the sun was in your eyes very frequently.
Is that right?
It's been awful.
And
I know it's been wonderful in Vancouver, and the sun has been shining out there.
Well, then the crowd will love the fact that they get to sit in the afternoon here in Toronto and watch what's been a good football game so far.
Less than a minute till halftime. 3rd and 10, and they have to do a little counting out there.
Yeah, they were 1 short, the Argos, on special teams, so have to burn a timeout. Probably won't be too costly because of the fact there's only 55 seconds left. Marcelo Simmons is the special teams coordinator for the Argos and has done a very nice job trying to find new and imaginative ways to get Rashard Livingston into the open area and open field.
He's an ex-Argo and an ex-Eskimo too. Prefontaine sails this down to October. His best return. Got a block. Winston October down the sideline. Can he get all the way? Might have stepped out. And he is finally pushed out by the punter, Noel Prefontaine. One kicker who likes to get his nose in there.
Winston October walked by me in warm-up, and I always say hi to Winston. He's great to talk to before every game. And I said, hey, you're having a heck of a season. And he said, you feel that cold breeze in the air? I said, what's that? It's an October breeze, he told me. And I said, buddy, it's been October all year. This guy has led the league in punt returns. He has the best average, and he keeps doing it year in and year out.
Yeah, almost 12 yards per return, over 900 yards in returns. And that total is #1 in the CFL as it stands right now. The Eskimos with 38 seconds have lots of time to get to the end zone.
John Bart Hendricks has come in the game at quarterback. Remember, the last series, Jason Moss injured his throwing arm when he was hit trying to deliver a pass from Jonathan Brown.
Matthew Bertrand was his intended receiver.
It started to look like Moss was going to be okay. He was walking up and down that sideline. Maybe they want to look at it at halftime and just have Bart Hendricks finish this first half.
Winston October's 67-yard punt return has the Eskimos definitely in field goal range, looking at 2nd and 10 here with the second-string quarterback at the controls. And Hendricks can't find anyone home. A late flag down near the 2.
Kenny Wheaton hates this call. And his argument will be that it was not a catchable pass. No question there was contact. Watch out, number 30. You're going to see Brock Ralph.
No infraction on the play. The ball was uncatchable.
There you go.
They're down.
Well, they threw the flag.
Yeah.
And corrected the error.
And that's a good job by the officials to huddle up, make sure they get every angle. Kenny Wheaton was upset, and that was the reason. And he did make contact, but there's no way Brock Ralph was coming down with that football. But the return from Winston October does give the Edmonton Eskimos a little momentum and a field goal try here as Jason Moss continues to be worked on that sideline. They'll check him out at halftime.
Sean Fleming good on 9 of 14. He has struggled at times this season. No mistake about that one as Fleming puts it through. And the Eskimos climb a little closer to the front-running Argonauts. It's a 5-point game.
The weather conditions are a factor in the game. Now the wind is calm, so that may not be a big factor, but
technically, if you're outdoors, the wind can come up in the second half too.
It changes the strategy.
Or it can start raining. Here's Winston October. Second half is underway. He's dropped at the 36-yard line, and that's where the Eskimos begin. It looks like they'll send Bart Hendricks in, at least to start the second half. The head coach of the Eskimos, Tom Higgins, said that we should expect to see Jason Moss. But for now, and for starters, it's Bart Hendricks.
Well, those are Jason Moss numbers all the way up until the very last series of the first half for the Edmonton Eskimos offensively. Around 80%, 171, 0 interceptions.
At one point, he completed 10 in a row. Mike Pringle gets the first carry off the right side for about 3. Kenny Wheaton was there. 2 running backs in this one. Interesting stories. John Avery getting big money to sign with the Argonauts. Mike Pringle has been around the league and is the all-time leading rusher, or at least number 2 in all-time yards.
Well, Pringle in the first half had double the yards, but also double the carries, basically. So you give the ball another 5 times to John Avery, and likely the numbers are almost identical.
Pringle, the all-time leading rusher of his era. George Reed of Saskatchewan has the all-time mark. Terry Vaughn makes the catch. He's made a couple of key catches for the Eskimos, and that will be a first down for Edmonton out across the 50-yard line.
Now Bart Hendricks gets a chance to execute the offense with these great receivers, including Terry Vaughn, Jason Tucker. We talked about Daryl Mitchell. He's had a couple of catches in the first half, and Ed Hervey's working on a bit of a sore ankle, so keep an eye on Hervey. He's still in the game. And remember, Adrian Smith is out of the lineup, injured in the first half, so they have Chuck Winters on the corner.
Pringle again, better than halfway to a first down as he crosses midfield.
Changes things up a little bit for the Argonauts secondary. Orlando Steinauer, Clifford Ivory are now the veterans. Adrian Smith gone, so Steinauer now has to make sure Chuck Winters is lined up correctly. And one change can make a big difference. You have to make sure that the communication remains the same. You can't let that slip, because a lot of times you're dropping receivers to other DBs, and you have to keep that communication and the lines open. You get one change back there, can bog down. So that becomes the leadership from Orlando Steinauer and his responsibility to make sure Chuck Winters understands how he will fit in, and Adrian Smith remains on the sideline.
Yeah, he an All-Canadian last year. Timeout by the Eskimos, who give some thought before this drive continues. 2nd down and 5 to go. Edmonton just across midfield into Argonaut territory. And timing a little bit off, perhaps, with the 2nd string quarterback Bart Hendricks at the controls.
But boy, they love him. I mean, they really want to see how Bart Hendricks will develop in this system. Procedure called against the Edmonton Eskimos, so that pushes them back. But they really want to see how Bart Hendricks will develop. I mean, Jason Moss is going to keep that job as long as he's completing upwards of 80–90% of his passes.
And
no
staying
question.
healthy.
And staying healthy. But that's the question mark right now for Edmonton. As he remains on the sideline. Now, you heard Tom Higgins say we may see Moss, or we should see Moss. So interesting here that Hendricks is calling the shots.
2nd down and long. Wide open is Tucker. This will be a huge 1st down for the Eskimos. Inside the Argonaut 20, Tucker has made big catches.
And that's why they like Bart Hendricks. They believe that he has the ability to read defense. He has the ability to recognize coverage and find the open receiver. I mean, that ball came out of a clump of defensive and offensive linemen. I mean, he disappeared behind the pile. Look at this. There's about 2,000 pounds all around him right there, and he just kind of wings that one out to an open Jason Tucker over the middle.
He's had to be a patient quarterback behind Jason Moss, then Ricky Ray, and now Jason Moss again. But Hendrick gets a chance in this one here. Huge 1st down for Edmonton, and they keep it on the ground after the 39-yard gain. A couple for Mike Pringle.
Coming into this game, Bart Hendricks, who replaces Jason Moss for now anyway, had attempted just basically 25%, I should say, completion percentage. So he hadn't got a whole lot of reps out there in game action, which is very, very different than when you're throwing against your 1st or 2nd team defense in practice, and they're just kind of making sure they're in good position.
And you think about Jason Moss and his patience behind Ricky Ray last year. So he is going to want as much playing time as possible now that the job is his as the #1 guy. Hendricks escapes, head down, and takes a pretty good hit short of the 1st down on 2nd and 7.
And I believe it's Kevin Lufstra didn't really like that hit. He got back up there swinging on Eric England, trying to protect his quarterback. But this is a pretty good decision from Bart Hendricks. He can drop back, nothing over to the play side. That's the left. He came all the way across with his vision and his read progression from the left side of the formation all the way to the middle linebacker, then back to the right. Nothing open across the plane, so he put it under his arm and picked up what he could.
Sean Fleming connected from 23. And this to get the Eskimos 3 points closer in a 5-point game. Bart Hendricks will hold. And Fleming has it. So Fleming is 2 for 2, and the Eskimos are within 2. It's Wendy's CFL Live from Toronto.
Now you want
Bashar Livingston near side, and wrapped up from behind. That was Mike Bradley making the tackle after a 16-yard return. Damon Allen has tossed a touchdown pass and had the Argonauts in the lead by halftime.
You know, and you go through Damon's 20-year career, and those numbers that you just saw are numbers that he's won with many, many times. I mean, There's been a whole bunch of times that throughout his career, Damon Allen, with under 200 yards passing, has won football games. But then you have to throw in, the 60 or 70 yards he rushed for and the couple of big plays he made at crucial times.
All time. CFL quarterbacking. Sean Avery didn't seem to see that one coming.
Well, either that or it changed directions, because you're right. He looked a little surprised when it arrived, and just as he got up to look at the bench, his teammate Bernard Williams went down in a heap, and he waved to the bench to get some medical attention out there. It looks like Bernard Williams pulling that toe. That usually means it's a cramp.
Timeout at Skydome. 10:22 to go. Third quarter. It's the Argonauts by a couple.
Now, you ask coaches around the league about gambling against this Edmonton Eskimo defensive line, they will tell you that they're so big and strong up there that it becomes more of a gamble, even if it's only a yard that you need, because it's hard to move them to get that yard.
On the turnover, the Eskimos get it at the 45. Bart Hendricks at the controls for Edmonton. Mike Pringle carrying the ball again. So Hendricks getting an opportunity. With Jason Moss injured late in the first half, we had expected to see Moss back in the game.
Well, that's because Tom Higgins told us he was putting him back in the game. But Jason Moss hasn't taken the helmet off. And usually if you're out for the game, you've got the clipboard now or a headset as the starter that's now out, and you've got your helmet on and baseball hat on. So
second and 4, out pattern far side, and there won't be first down yardage there. Brock Ralph made the catch, and the coverage was very tight right after he made it.
You're going to force Higgins into the same decision as Mike Clemens had to just go through, and that's whether or not to go for it. And Higgins elects to go with the kicking game and sends his kicking team on the field with Sean Fleming within field goal range. Longest on the season for Fleming has been 50 yards this year, and he's inside of that now.
He's made a couple already from 23 and 20. Hendricks will put it down. Fleming puts it up. And this one is a little wide. Bobbled by the Argonauts. Who's got it? Eskimos say they've recovered the loose football at the 10-yard line.
What a turn of events for Mike Clemens. He decides to go for it on third down and less than a yard. Doesn't come up with the first down. But his defense comes up with a stop. Now what looked like to be a missed field goal that was going to be returned by Livingston turns into a fumble. Eskimos get the ball back. He attacked that football, never really got his hands on it, went off his legs.
So here are the Eskimos with a first down the hard way. First down at the 11-yard line of the Argos. Nice play action fake by Hendricks.
Boy, was it ever.
And he had his man.
You know, Michael Fletcher had to be in charge of taking Mike Pringle. I mean, he went down there so far that there's no way that Fletcher could have had contained responsibilities. You know, and Mike Fletcher and Mike Pringle have a bit of a history together. One of the best hits I've ever seen was when Mike Pringle was playing for Montreal, and Mike Fletcher and him hit midfield. Helmets went flying. Mike Fletcher knocked himself out of the game. And he came back a couple plays later. He just had to find his helmet.
But Matthew Bertrand has dropped a couple here, Glenn.
That was one of the biggest hits I've ever seen, and they're hitting again tonight.
Second and 10. Eskimos. Hendricks won't get this one away as the Argos come charging. Noah Cantor, who's having an outstanding season.
Yeah, he is.
In the middle of that Argonaut defensive line, gets through for another quarterback.
Well, and when you play a 34 defense, 3-down lineman, watch 92 with a great move on Tim Princeton. Noah Cantor, very nice job there. Just getting past and swimming by Princeton. But when you run a 34 defense, very important that your middle guy, and that's Noah Cantor for the Argos, has got to be strong and get a good push, and he's got to demand a double team, which he's done most of the season.
Second sack for the Argos in this one. Fourth for Noah Cantor on the season. So Fleming gets another crack at it here from a much more favorable distance.
Missed
this
it.
one right through the end zone. And the Eskimos settle for a single. Fleming had 2 cracks at it. The Argos dodge a bullet. This is by Sean Fleming. And it's a 1-point Argonaut lead now. Here's Damon Allen on first down. Miles makes the catch.
And John, that one hurts. You know, there's a late flag there. We'll sort that out. But that miss hurts the Edmonton Eskimos. I mean, they have a golden opportunity here, you know, to not only get a major. The defense for the Argos hold there, but at least 3 points. And Fleming had a couple of chances. You know, Fleming.
Major foul, face mask, Edmonton number 4, first down.
Whoa-ho, that's Crutchfield.
Yeah, and Fleming this year has missed a couple inside of 30. In fact, versus Winnipeg, he was good, but then Hamilton missed one. In the BC and Ottawa game, he missed one. So he's missed 4 now inside of 30 yards, and that's why people are wondering about Sean Fleming, and I think he's probably wondering a little bit about himself.
Hitting on 64% coming in, made his first 2, missed his next 2. Here's John Avery, and Avery showing what we expected to see from him when he got healthy. This guy was something else as an Eskimo, and this is one of the nicest runs he's made as an Argonaut.
Well, yeah, here's what you're going to see. You're going to see second gear, because Avery doesn't have a first gear. That's too slow. Second gear, now watch him accelerate into third right through here as he slashes through the hole. Now he hits number 4 as he breaks to the outside and outruns Singor Mobley's angle. Now another 5th gear right there as he lowers his shoulder. That's the acceleration that the Edmonton Eskimos are familiar with from 2 years ago. We haven't seen a lot of because of that injury.
7 carries for 46 yards for Avery. First down. And that time, no connection with Chris Cunningham. A little low.
Let's take one more look at how quickly it happens for John Avery when he gets to top speed. That's what you call a slasher. Slashing running style as he cuts through that defense.
Averaging over 6 yards a carry. His longest right there was 25 yards. Argonauts at the 29, 2nd and 10. Whoa! A little high. Andre Talbot was the intended target of Damon Allen.
Yeah.
And did he come in a little too far?
Well, no, I thought that Damon Allen just rushed the throw a little bit. He had Robert Grant coming off the edge, so he was sort of forced to hurry it, but just let go when he was kind of leaning back on his heels and the ball sailed on him.
That brings on Noel Prefontaine. Hitting from 39 and 46. Prefontaine has that one. So the Argos have a 4-point lead on Wendy's CFL Live. Here's the Argonauts' first down, pressure on Allen, and no one home on that toss there.
Well, Damon Allen, John, wants a pass interference call, and he'd like it called on Kelvin Kenny. In that play, John Avery tried to sneak out of the backfield, and as the ball was arriving, Kelvin Kenny tackled Avery as he came out. Watch Avery right here sneak out to this direction, and as he does, now watch Kenny just grab him and tackle him, pull him down. I mean, that Damon Allen right away. See, as far as I know, that's not in the rules, is it? Kelvin Kenny got away with it there.
No flag, no foul.
Absolutely.
2nd and 10 Argos. Avery goes up and brings this one down, and Argonaut first down at the 40.
Well, see, this time Avery realized in order to get open, and I got to get away from Kelvin Kenny. So what I'm going to do is get down the field more. This time Avery starts in the backfield and extends before the snap to find the hole over the middle. And watch how he gets away from that defensive line so he can't be tackled, goes out nice and wide, turns around, and makes a pretty nice catch over the middle in that danger zone.
15-yard gain for the Argonauts. John Avery has made a couple of big plays. 25-yard run, 15-yard reception. Here's Damon Allen. And Allen can still fly. Can he? Can he take it all the way? No. Steps out around the 4. And then he's pushed out and draws a flag as a result of that.
Well, this will be an interesting call on that sideline, first of all. I mean, the run itself is Damon Allen recognizing what happened on the defense and doing this on his own. It may have looked designed, but I don't think it was. Damon Allen sees that it's man-to-man, and the linebackers, Singor Mobley, has vacated, so he's going to do quarterback draw on his own. See what this call is at the end of the play. Donnie Brady pushes him into the pads, but it looked like Damon Allen tried to cut back.
Personal foul. And that'll be half the distance to the goal line for Damon Allen. A 33-yard setup for this touchdown opportunity here.
It was a close one on Donnie Brady because it looked to me like Damon Allen was trying to cut back on him, and that's why Brady hit him out of bounds. But they were so close anyway, it's really just half the distance. Wasn't a whole lot of yards.
Avery gets the call. He's got the touchdown. John Avery into the end zone for the Argonauts. Damon Allen set it up. John Avery finished it off.
Well, it was Avery and Allen on the entire drive, really. Avery had that catch over the middle. Allen with the nice run down the middle and broke to the right, and then Avery finishes his drive with a nice slashing run off the left side of that offensive line.
Argonauts scored first. The Eskimos took the lead for a while, but the Argonauts have been in control and add to their lead right now at 25-14.
Nice blocks at the point of attack. See Sandy Annunziata kick his man out, number 65. Chad Folk and Jude St. John wash the rest of that defensive line down to the left. And now it's just up to Avery to go through Singor Mobley and Robert Grant in the linebacking core. Here's what sets it up, though. Damon Allen up the middle. Now he breaks to the outside. See the patience from Damon Allen.
Little stutter step there.
Yeah, he doesn't really look like he's running, and then all of a sudden he's run by you. Right there, that smooth transition from up the middle to the right side of the formation.
No one has done it better in Canadian football ever than Damon Allen. The all-time leading rushing quarterback, the all-time leading passing quarterback in the CFL.
He comes in just over 7,000 yards behind Warren Moon for all-time passing yards in any league. It says he wants to play 3 or 4 more.
Winston October. Well read by the with a play like that and then the touchdown.
Well, they love it. I mean, he's leading this team, and when he makes runs like that, they say, you know, why wouldn't he play till he's 45 years old? He takes tremendous care of himself. This is overall yards. First all-time, 63,300 coming in, and there's his touchdown total as well. He's in first there. Mentioned just behind Warren Moon, and when I asked Damon Allen about it, he said, yeah, you know, I feel good. 3 or 4 was within the realm of possibility.
Hendricks is on the money to Terry Vaughn. It's Bart Hendricks, and the Eskimos lose it again. Now the official was standing right there, and he does signal it was a fumble and a turnover. And Fletcher is there. The Eskimos have coughed it up a couple of times earlier. It didn't cost them. Lately it has.
Yeah, and that'll have a way of catching up with you, John. And this time Terry Vaughn comes over the middle. Now sometimes it's a fumble and you just are sloppy with the ball, and sometimes it's from a big hit. Watch Terry Vaughn come across there. Kenny Wheaton puts his head down, but it's at Michael Fletcher around the football again with the hit from behind. Great hustle coming back, and look at that. Tackle the football. He puts his helmet in the side of Terry Vaughn. The ball comes out, and number 2 picks it up.
Vaughn recovered a fumble, and the Eskimos went on to score the touchdown as a result of that earlier. This time he coughs it up. Fletcher has it, and the Argos battle for a first down.
John, I mentioned Michael Fletcher. When you're talking to offensive coordinators, they're the ones who watch those defenders. Both love Michael Fletcher for plays like that.
42-yard line with about a yard.
That's the end of the third quarter, and the Argonauts feeling a little more comfortable about things with John Avery into the end zone.
Still Edmonton's favor, but John Avery's becoming a part of this offense for the Argos.
Eskimos are expecting to have Jason Moss back at the controls the next time they have the football. He was warming up on the sidelines. Meantime, the Argos on second and less than a yard will maintain possession here.
You're not way up there, you are.
And the break, Moss started throwing, and he was standing on his own 45-yard line and throwing it to the opposite 30. So, you know, and putting something on those throws. And then he went over to Danny Machocha and said, you know what, I think I can give it a go. Bart Hendricks took his helmet off. Now the Edmonton Eskimo defense needs to get him the football.
Looked to me like the Argonauts had the first down on second and about a yard. And in fact they do. Upon further review, fourth quarter just nicely underway with the Argonauts leading 25-14.
Yeah, but Mike Clemens is digging a groove on that sideline every time it gets close and they have to bring the sticks on.
What?
He's talking about forward momentum now, and they're talking about how they line it up. He's trying to just put a little bug in the official's ear.
It may help, and then again it may not. Here are the Argonauts with a first down just outside the Eskimo 41. There looked to be early movement, and flags do come down as John Avery escapes that Argonaut backfield. And he gets to the 40-yard line. As it stands right now, only one team in the West has a winning record, that being the BC Lions at 4-3. The Eskimos will try and join them if they can pull off the comeback against the Argonauts here.
Well, Tom Higgins, if you could read lips, just said what happened, because the Argos just picked up about 15 more yards on a late penalty. That puts the ball in the 21-yard line and scoring range. Now we're in the red zone.
And the Eskimo head coach doesn't understand the call. At least that was his first indication there. Here's Damon Allen looking for 6 more. He's got it. Andre Talbot got in behind that Eskimo secondary.
All right, Damon Allen fired up there. Andre Talbot, John, ran the perfect fade route. Called a fade because you fade away from the defensive back.
For Talbot, touchdowns in back-to-back games.
And Darryl Crutchfield maybe underestimated the speed of Andre Talbot a little bit.
Argonauts have 32 points on the board now. The Eskimos just 14. We expect to see Jason Moss back to battle Damon Allen in the final quarter here. Here's the game story brought to you by Sport Check, proud supporter of the CFL.
Well, Moss knocked out of the game by Jonathan Brown in the second quarter. Damon Allen has put together a productive evening with a couple of touchdowns.
John Avery into his own a couple of times on nice plays, and Tony Miles with the catches and 1 touchdown. But the last play, the blocked field goal, may give the Eskimos a little bit of hope.
Darryl Crutchfield, because of the angle, a short field goal from Noel Prefontaine. Crutchfield gets a chance, blocks it. Now the defense has done their job. They've given Bart Hendricks the ball and a chance here.
Penalty flags are down, and
boy, that's
the Argonauts close quickly on Winston October. Antonio Bonner was there.
See, the short field goal, oftentimes this wide guy will be left free on a short field goal, because when you kick a longer one, the ball goes in that trajectory. But if it's short, you have to hit that angle there. Now that outside guy has to be picked up. No Prefontaine has to hit that short angle, and when he does, gets Crutchfield a chance to get his hands on it. So not just, I said they had to hold him to just 3. Well, how about 0?
0 and an 18-point
so now
situation for the Eskimos.
Plenty of time at 7:52, but Bart Hendricks needs a drive now.
The Eskimos looking at 1st and 5. Hendricks steps up, and he'll slide for the first down across the 30.
Yeah, this is a big one, and this is a tough defense to come back against, John, and the reason for that is that this secondary just will very seldom give up the big play. They'll give up some yards underneath, and they'll come up and give you a headache, but they very seldom give up the big long bomb, and that's why it's tough to come back on.
Argonauts have allowed the fewest points and the fewest touchdowns so far this CFL season. One hopper to October from Bart Hendricks. It's only 2nd and 10 Edmonton. Eskimos started the season at 0-3, came back with 3 straight victories.
Boy, Rich,
and they're still trying to get on the positive side of things, and that was the hope, if they could come away with a victory here tonight, to move to 4-3. Hendricks has a target far side,
had him.
and he had him. Didn't miss by all that much, but it is well out.
Well, Jason Tucker had got in behind Mike Fletcher on the outside. He ran down the sideline, a little out and up on him, a little double move, and he did sneak in behind, but the ball was already gone and thrown just out of bounds by Bart Hendricks. I was going to say, John, Rich Stubler, the defensive coordinator, if he can get that kind of play out of Jonathan Brown and Noah Cantor and Eric England, the way they played in this second half primarily, boy, there's a lot of things he can do with his defense when you can get great pressure with just 3-man rushing.
Fleming is in again. Eskimos trailing by 18 as Fleming puts it high. Bashar Livingston draws a no yards penalty. Has a little room near sidelines. Oh, and then goes over and actually trips him. And they throw the flag after that. Livingston's biggest return of the game. Now there was a penalty back where he caught the ball and also penalties where he went down, but I think the second set of flags will be a tripping call.
Boy, when he first made that move on Sean Fleming, I thought Mike Clemens' record, Argo record of 8 kick return touchdowns, might come to an end right there, because I thought this move right here, look at this head fake. Oh, and inside, but Fleming with his leg tripped him.
Yes,
I thought
no.
Well, you can't. Yeah.
An illegal maneuver there. But we check the other infraction first.
Well, the other infraction against the Argos, so that didn't matter anyway.
No.
Well, I guess you do what you can.
Well, Fleming's had a tough day.
Yeah. Well, you know, he made a couple, but
he made his first 2, and then
when the game was really in the balance, he missed a short one inside of 30, and that's really, you know, as a difference maker in an emotional game, those are ones have to be automatic. You just have to be automatic inside of 30. Keep that momentum.
And not that it was his fault, but the high snap in the first half, he was forced to recover the ball and kick it through the end zone and hand the Argonauts 2 points there. So the discussion continues. We talked about the first flags that went down in the area. Bashar Livingston when he began the kick return, and that was against Edmonton, a no yards infraction. And another penalty against the Argonauts there, so they're the first really don't come down to anything of consequence regarding the leg whip or trip that
and the Argos keep possession of the football, and will start in their end of the field.
6:09 to play. Argonauts looking to keep pace with the Alouettes heading into Montreal for the next game on Thursday night.
The Edmonton Eskimos to come back in this game, John, they're going to probably need a big play, if not maybe a score out of their defense, and they're still discussing the whole penalty situation. You know, when you look at that game and you look at this one, Damon Allen, the way he's been playing, and especially in the last 3 games, a 3-game winning streak for the Toronto Argonauts. I mentioned it right off the top, averaging 300 yards passing, around 69% he's completed. And maybe most importantly, had thrown just one interception coming into this game tonight. Protecting the football very well, and that's what you have to do against Montreal when you mention the game they've got coming up.
And then you look at this Argonaut defense and the number of touchdowns it has allowed in recent times too. I mean, that obviously helps.
And a good matchup, and that's why I say in this one here tonight, for Edmonton to come back, it's a tough task. You mentioned the defense. That's the first thing. You can't get deep on them. It's tough. The second thing is, after you get past that defense, now if you need a big play out of the Edmonton defense, like a touchdown off an interception or something, you're playing against a guy in Damon Allen who's thrown one all year. So that's what they're looking at with 6:09 left. Have to face Rich Stubler. Greg Marshall has to see if his defense can come up with a big play, maybe an interception, a fumble recovery, and grab some early momentum, and maybe most importantly, field position, get Bart Hendricks a little closer.
Well, we never received a further indication from the officials as to what that discussion was all about. But it is a first down for the Argonauts. The ball is spotted at the Toronto 42. And the discussion continues.
They just might as well get on with it.
And there's a problem with the mic, so we've got no yards, we've got holding, and we've got a trip. But as a result,
well,
we're ready to go, and it's first down at the 42.
And we had an awfully long meeting. But the bottom line is we get ready to play some more football with 6 minutes left.
Damon Allen has it right on the money for Mark Lester, who draws in because of an injury. Lester caught one earlier, but Mike Palmer is on the sidelines for this one, so Mark Lester gets an opportunity.
Well, yeah, an injury, and you know, Mark Lester has been ready to go. I mean, he's sort of been on the injury list, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, for the Toronto Argonauts.
They still have those, do they?
But, well, there's a
nudge, nudge list.
Yeah, well, there's a ratio issue that they had to work with, and they got him back on the roster tonight.
Anyway, Lester gets the first down, and John Avery gets another carry. A lot of work for about 4 yards for Avery out near the 50.
If you're an Argo fan, though, John Avery, you know, his numbers decent. He's been a big part of this second half, and rushed the ball for over 50, and he's approaching that 100-yard mark, yards from scrimmage. He has the one touchdown. But if you're an Argo fan, most importantly, you're excited about the way he's been running, because that knee has come back.
Couple of very nice, shifty maneuvers by Avery.
His knee looks a lot better now than it did 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, Doctor. And here's Avery on the fake, and Allen didn't fool anyone. Well, A.J. Gass gets through to make the tackle.
Yeah, and the Edmonton Eskimos on that play decided, forget about the fake, let's tackle both of them. Let's tackle Damon Allen, who may still have it, or John Avery, who may have it. And that's exactly what they did in the middle. Avery gets the fake. Here comes Gass off the edge. He sticks with his responsibility. He didn't go down on that fake. Kelvin Kenny tackles Avery. A.J. Gass tackles Damon Allen. Well, they didn't get the interception. They didn't get the touchdown on the defense, but they did get the stop.
Less than 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, with the Argonauts feeling rather comfortable about things right now. An 18-point advantage. They'll try and pin the Eskimos deep. Well, more adventure here. Noel Prefontaine takes off. Can he get the first down out of this? Prefontaine has it. Oh, and he took a smash at the 40-yard line. Helmets roll. But Prefontaine likely has the longest run of his career.
And he loves it. And Noel Prefontaine is not a kicker. Noel Prefontaine is a great athlete who happens to kick. And so a free safety in college, Noel Prefontaine at San Diego State did a lot of the hitting himself. He's a great athlete. He shows it here with his running ability. Watch the move he makes in the open field right now. Cuts back right there. He hadn't had the first down by that point. Then he takes that hit. His helmet flies off, and guess who's the first to get up and get excited? Noel Prefontaine.
Well, he made a hit earlier in the game as well. I suppose there's a chance he might make it to Gladiator someday.
Well, he has to play on Friday, but yeah. You know, and
No, I'm just saying someday.
Yeah.
I know my place.
Noel Prefontaine, basically, when he started up here, he had to be told to stop covering kickoffs so quickly. I mean, he would go and kick the football off and be the first guy down on the cover team, and made it for a couple of seasons, was starting to lead the team in tackles, special teams. And
that's not good when he's your kicker and as important as he is.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's great, and you love to see the effort, but you want to protect your kicker.
Tony Miles had a couple. This is second down. Damon Allen looks to take off himself. It's there. Allen turns, takes a hit, and flags fly on that.
Yeah, and that one will be called because Allen was definitely running out of bounds. And Malcolm Frank came up. Remember the early one, Donnie Brady hit him, got a call, and I thought that Allen was trying to cut back, and therefore Donnie Brady really didn't have a choice but to hit him out of bounds. This one, I think Malcolm Frank did have a choice. No question, Damon Allen's going to step out of bounds right now, and he was about a half a yard out when he got hit by Malcolm Frank, and you consider that refs are trying to protect the quarterbacks, that will be called every time. Brady's maybe, but Malcolm Frank, that was definitely a call.
Less than 3 minutes to go now. Damon Allen has Avery sliding out of the backfield. John Avery, one touchdown already. Make that two. High flying John Avery into the Eskimo end zone.
His hero growing up was Mighty Mouse. And he showed us a little of that at the end zone there. But that's what I'm talking about, why Argo fans should be excited about how his knees come along. That was the kind of run that shows that your knee is back. And then a little Mighty Mouse at the end.
You're kidding about the hero.
No.
Really?
No, I talked to John Avery when he was in Edmonton about that. And he said, hey, when I was a kid, I loved Mighty Mouse.
Okay.
You know, he wasn't the biggest superhero, but he was tough. And that's what John Avery.
You know, everyone knows, just like John Avery, Mighty Mouse can fly.
Here I come to save the day.
Mighty Mouse is on the way. John Avery, an ex-Eskimo, signing with the Argonauts as a free agent after his NFL tryout.
You know, and when you talk about his knee injury, it's not just getting the knee back to a point where he can go out and compete, take a hit on it, make a cut on it. It's also building the stamina back in his legs, both legs, because when you have an injury, the muscles around the injury will shrink, and you have to work that back so that you can not only play a quarter or two, but play the entire game and still have the strength in it in the fourth quarter, and it looks like it's back for Avery.
Eskimos are using their third quarterback of the afternoon, Jason Johnson. Comes in relief of Bart Hendricks, who was in relief of Jason Moss. And Johnson is perfect so far with a connection to Andrew Nowacki, who gets his first assignment as an Eskimo, making his first appearance in the CFL.
Yeah, and then tell by this that Tom Higgins is trying to get some of the backups some reps. 39-14 inside of 3 minutes. Tom Higgins' streak against the Toronto Argonauts comes to an end. He was 6-0 since 2001 against the Argos.
The Eskimos have not lost in Toronto in this century. Last loss was back in 1999.
Well, that comes to an end tonight because, you know, defensively, the three up front, Brown, Cantor, and England, controlled things in that respect. And offensively, John Avery's back. I mean, John Avery didn't have a 100-yard rushing game, and he didn't break out into a game of 200 all-purpose or 200 from the line of scrimmage. But John Avery did do what he had to get this offense going, and the defense has done what they've done for the last 3-4 games. To give Chuck Winters some credit there, he stepped in on that corner against Ed Hervey and Daryl Mitchell and Jason Tucker and Terry Vaughn and on, and held his own. So Rich Stubler plugs a different player in the same system and gets similar results.
New quarterback for the Argonauts as well. Michael Bishop steps in. Not too many repetitions for him either.
Well, when you look at those numbers, I think Michael Bishop would just like one under the comp, which stands for
0 for 7.
Yeah,
and 2 interceptions. So Damon Allen finishes with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Still one on the season.
244 yards.
You think about it, John. Damon Allen is on pace right now to throw 3 interceptions this year. That's unheard of.
Miles was the target, took a hit from Frank as he went up. Bishop missed him by quite a bit, so 0's still beside his name so far this season as far as completions are concerned.
You know, back in the 2000 season when Dave Dickinson was the MVP, his touchdown to interception ratio was probably the main reason that he won the Outstanding Player Award. And when you look at Damon Allen's, you know, Damon Allen's going to be pushing 4,000 yards this year if he stays healthy. And if he throws just 3 interceptions on the season, wow.
Final minute 34 to go here. Now Prefontaine might have been injured because this is Chris Hardy kicking for the Argonauts. That's why October had moved up. O'Shea has him wrapped up. And we didn't see Prefontaine limp off. He was still celebrating.
He jumped and ran off. Chris Hardy did the kicking there. He's a backup.
But Prefontaine, I'm not so sure he was horribly shaken up. Hardy came in and wobbled one.
He'll be okay. And that looks like it'll be the night for John Avery too, even if the Argos get the ball back one more time. He's taking the stuff off.
Minute 21 to go. Eskimos down to their 3rd string quarterback, and here's Johnson. He'll have a first down as a result of that run. Jason Johnson.
John Avery had some kind of night. Started early, little swing passes like that, but he showed that his knee was strong.
Couple of nice runs, an early touchdown.
Involved in the passing game over the middle, caught that one. Set up another touchdown.
Mike Pringle taking a hit there with less than a minute to go. Eskimos string at Skydome comes to an end tonight. Tom Higgins' streak against the Argonauts as the Eskimos head coach also ends. And Mike Clemens
has a good football
gets ready
team.
he does, and he gets ready for a date with the Alouettes on Thursday.
Yeah, he has a good football team. You look at this defense, ranked 1st or 2nd in almost all the categories. Definitely all the categories when it comes to passing the ball. You got guys like Mike Fletcher flying around. We just saw him one more time making plays. I mean, this could have been worse for Edmonton. They fumbled the ball 4 times in the first quarter and recovered all of them.
And got them all back, yes.
So it could have been a lot worse early. Edmonton couldn't hang on to the football when they had to. Fletcher making plays all over the field once more. And maybe most importantly, the 3 defensive linemen in this 30 defense for the Toronto Argonauts, Jonathan Brown, Noah Cantor, Eric England controlled the line of scrimmage in the second half.
Jason Johnson has Winston October. He lost it. And the Argonauts have recovered another Eskimo fumble.
Now there you go. That's sort of been the type of game it's been for Edmonton. They've had their chances. It was close enough in the first half, but they had also dodged a whole bunch of bullets, and that has a way of sneaking up on you later, and they all kind of balance out. They recovered a bunch of their own fumbles early, but as the game wore on and the ball kept hitting the turf, the Argos started to take advantage of it.
After an 0-3 start, the Eskimos battled back to 500. They'll drop a game below that as a result of the 4th loss this season. The winning streak ends at 3, and the Eskimos will start over from that, leaving the BC Lions all alone in top spot in the CFL West.
Oh, he keeps it close in the West too. Calgary now with another win, just a game behind Saskatchewan and Edmonton. Mike Clemens has a nice football team, though. He's got a quarterback that is protecting the ball. Mentioned his throwing 1 interception now in 7 games. Damon Allen.
He sees the running back that he's been expecting to emerge.
Yeah, come
out of that shell after getting healthy. I shouldn't say come out of the shell, but I mean, he hasn't been close to 100% at any stage this season. May not be quite yet, but he looks pretty darn close tonight. Number 20, John Avery. And Mike Clemens moves within 1 win of the Montreal Alouettes.
Boy, and does that make that next game for us a big one for Toronto and Montreal, which we will be at. And you know, because a win there for Toronto, they can figure out the Montreal defense, you know, puts them right in that race for first in the East Division.
And that has been a problem for the Argonauts over the last couple of years, you know. Finishing strong, making it to the playoffs, but then having to go a little further east to Montreal and win a game in the Alouettes building, and that is never easy.
Well, Tom Higgins has to look at his quarterback situation this week, see who's healthy.
It's the Argonauts winning in a walk over the Eskimos.